Hey there, welcome to another episode of Legends with Elroy. Today I am excited to tell you another story about Billy Bob the Knight. Now this story starts as Billy Bob was taking a bath. A splash, I was taking a bath, all about a Saturday night. A rabba-tabba. What's that? So Billy Bob made his way to the door, and he opened it, and there before him stood Porky and Stanley. Now, of course, Stanley was a skunk, and Porky was a porcupine, not a pig. Some people think that he was a pig, but Porky was not. And anyways, they both stood there, but what was very surprising is they were holding a litter, kind of like a platform, but with, like little holding things on either side. And on the litter was none other than Pierre the pig. And Billy Bob said, what are you guys doing? What's Pierre doing up there? And Porky said, I don't really know. It's pretty heavy though, and I'm getting pretty tired. And Pierre said, Billy Bob, you see, I need your help. You see, as you know, Billy Bob, I do not like dirt or anything of that nature, including dust. And well, you should see my house. There's so much dust. Just is unbearable. I walk out to my room and I see dust and I go, achoo! And I see dust over there and I say, achoo! And then I see dust and I say, achoo! Billy Bob said, okay, well, have you ever thought of dusting it? And Pierre said, that's quite an idea, Billy Bob. Really thinking outside the box. I see why you're a legend. Anyways, how would one dust? That is the real question, Billy Bob. How would one do it? Billy Bob said, well, you can just take a cloth and you can, wipe the dust up. And Pierre said, quite interesting. But, it just doesn't seem right. A cloth. I don't like touching cloths, Billy Bob. As you know, I am an aristocratic pig, and somehow cloths just seem beneath me. And Billy Bob said, well, you could always use a feather duster. Those are pretty refined. And Pierre said, feather dusters. That sounds more like my speed. Billy Bob, I'll go get one right away. Now chop chop, boys. And Porky and Stanley looked up and they were like, thanks, Pierre. But then Pierre stopped and he said, wait a second. I don't know where I might find one of these feather dusters. Billy Bob said, I'll come with you guys. I've heard legends about where one might be. So they made their way out, and they soon arrived in a barren area. And in this barren area, they started finding feathers here and there on the ground. And they had just about found enough when they heard something behind them. They turned around, and there stood an ostrich. And they said, now you see, the thing is, ostriches are birds. So a lot of people think, well, they can't be that scary. They're just really tall, big birds. But they can be scary because they're strong and they're fast. And they can kick you pretty hard. You don't want to get kicked by an ostrich. And so they turned and they said, it's an ostrich. And the ostrich said, yes, my name is Oscar the Ostrich. And what are you all doing carrying around my feathers? And also, why is there a pig being carried around on a litter? And Porky said, I don't know. It's crazy, and my shoulders are getting tired. And Pierre said, Porky? Porky said, okay. And Billy Bob said, Oscar the Ostrich, it's a pleasure to meet you. I'm Billy Bob the Knight. And you see, these are my friends, Porky the Porcupine, Stanley the Skunk, and of course, Pierre the Aristocratic Pig. Thank you. That was Pierre. You know, he has quite a flair. But anyways, you see, we're here because we're trying to create a duster for my friend over there, Pierre. And Oscar the Ostrich said, a duster? I'm not sure I'm familiar with that. You see, are you talking about like wiping up dust in your house? Because when I do that, I just use a cloth. Porky said in the background, see, I knew we should have just used a cloth. Poor Porky. He didn't even get to eat any food during this break, which, as you know, is very important to Porky. He needs his snacks. But I digress. And Oscar the Ostrich said, so you're gonna make a duster out of my quills? Huh, that's pretty unique. That really is thinking outside the box. Pierre, of course, agreed. And Billy Bob said, well, yes, you see, I've seen other feather dusters out there, and I just figured that an ostrich feather duster would be great. And Oscar said, that gives me an idea. You see, Billy Bob, I've heard of you because I'm friends with Barry the Brown Bear, and I, of course, buy Barry the Brown Bear's awesome bone broth. And with that in mind, I wonder if I could start a business where I sell dusters. It could be like Oscar's Ostrich Dusters, or like Oscar's Feather Dusters, the Ostrich. I don't know. I still have to work on the marketing. Barry the Brown Bear just has such good marketing. But I guess you have to start somewhere, and if I just get going, I could get started. Billy Bob, could you show me how to make a duster, and then I'll get the business started? And Billy Bob said, okay. So Billy Bob went and he found a nice sturdy stick. It was about this wide. And Billy Bob then went ahead and he attached all of those feathers to the stick. Now he did it with a couple different means. With a sticky resin, kind of like glue, and then also with some rope tied around. And then he handed it over to Oscar. And he said, here you go, Oscar. And Oscar said, this is awesome, Billy Bob. I can actually have my own business now where I sell dusters. The feather dusters made by Oscar. Yeah, that's a little better than before. Well, this is pretty cool, Billy Bob. Why don't I take you on a ride around the area? You know, it's kind of cool to ride on the back of an ostrich, people say. So, Billy Bob hopped on Oscar's back and they went riding. And they rode around and around and around. And then Pierre said, I challenge you to, well, a race. Why don't we race? And Billy Bob said, well, like you're gonna run, Pierre? And he said, of course not. I'm going to have them run. And little Porky and Stanley were like, oh no. So then they got ready and they said, under march, get set, go. Oscar and Billy Bob won because, you know, a porcupine and a skunk carrying a pig can't move that fast. And ostriches are pretty fast, even if they're carrying a knight. But anyways, so they had the feather duster and they went their separate ways. Well, at least Porky, Pierre, and Stanley, as well as Billy Bob, went towards their home, and Oscar went home to work on more dusters. And then, as they arrived at Billy Bob's house, Pierre decided it was time to go home. He said, Billy Bob, thank you so much for your help. It was quite
helpful for me. Well, boys, we need to be on our way. We have some dusting to do. Are you ready, Porky?
Yes. You see, Porky was the one who was gonna dust. Pierre said that being an aristocrat, he could not be seen dusting, which made Porky wonder why he couldn't just close the blinds in his house so people couldn't see him dusting. But Pierre said it wouldn't work. So they went back to Pierre's place to start wiping all the dust away, and Billy Bob went back to go to sleep. What the? Who knocks that fast anyways? So Billy Bob went to the door and he opened it. But that story, my friends, is for another day. Well, I'll see you guys in the next episode of Legends with Elroy. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See ya!